Today I'm going to be using a handheld fog machine to make some amazing beauty images. Hey everybody, Lindsay Adler here. I'm always looking for new sources of inspiration, new tools to play around with to help me create images that stand out from the crowd. Now, a couple of years ago, I found this portable handheld smoke machine. It was called the Smoke Genie, and I played around with it and I created some images that I love. Even a couple where it looked like the subject's hair was on fire, and I've since used that for special effects and things like Halloween shoots and unusual beauty images. And so I'm always looking to see what new things hit the market. Well, thankfully, the creators of Smoke Genie have actually come out with the SmokeNINJA and the SmokeNINJA Pro. What's great about these is they're less expensive than the Smoke Genie, but they have several new features. All right, so today what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a demonstration using the SmokeNINJA Pro. Now, before I get into the demonstration, I did want to talk a little bit about some of the reasons I love these tools so much and why I use them all the time. So first of all, there's the obvious things. It's portable and handheld, which makes it great if I go on location, it's battery operated, or if I'm flying someplace and I want to bring them along with me. That's great. But another reason I love them is that they have so many different features. Typically, you're buying a smoke machine or a haze machine or a tool that does one thing. When you're looking at the Smoke Genies or the SmokeNINJAs, they actually have 4 or 5 totally different capabilities. So first of all, you have the fog effect. Fog is what you typically would think of with a smoke machine. It's thick smoke that spreads throughout the air. Then it has capability to create haze. I use haze all the time in my images when I don't want to see the smoke. Instead, I want to have fine particles in the air, and then when they're backlit by light, I'll actually see that beam of light. This is volumetric lighting. Like it creates a sense of space and mood and drama. So you've got your fog. You've got your haze. It has this feature called steam, which I don't use as much, but it's got these tiny little particles that you could use, for example, to make it look like a cup of coffee was steaming. And then we get to my favorite, which is the dry ice, the liquid smoke. I had never seen anything like this before. When I first tried it out, I could not believe it was possible. And what it does is it creates this liquid smoke that just hangs in the air on the subject's arm. It kind of steams upward. It makes it look like the smoke is actually clinging to the subject. It is such a cool feature. Now there's the SmokeNINJA, which is great. And then there's the SmokeNINJA Pro. This is their newest tool, and it comes with a few different nozzles. It cools down faster, like it has other benefits. But it also has the capability to do something that I think is just so cool. You can create bubbles filled with the liquid smoke. Now, I haven't quite figured out how I want to use that yet, but it's these sort of new features that come out that gets my mind rolling. Like it gets me inspired to try new things. And this is what I'm talking about when I say I'm always looking for new sources of inspiration. And there's just a couple more things that I want to mention about this fantastic tool. So it can create fog or haze for about 3 minutes running continuously, which is more than enough for the types of things that I'm shooting. The next thing that's really important is that this company, it makes safety a top priority. So for example, the smoke, all of that haze, it's safe for the skin, it's safe for the eyes, it's safe to breathe in, which is really important, especially if I'm bringing it up really close to my subject for some of the beauty images. I don't have to worry about putting them in danger. Plus, these tools, they don't overheat, so I'm also not worrying about burning my subjects. And so all of these things, all of the creative capabilities and the safety means that I have so many different ideas of how to put this into practice for beauty images, avant-garde images, fashion images. So let's go see the SmokeNINJA Pro in action. As I begin to photograph our beautiful subject, I always consider what the purpose of the shot is. So there are 2 main creative considerations. First of all, I want to create lighting that flatters smoke or haze or something to that effect, which means a key element of this lighting setup is going to be backlight. And then the second creative consideration is going to be my color palette. Molly is wearing this beautiful color of makeup and that stunning top. And so we're playing around with blues and teals and that color palette. So I want to make sure that the lighting I choose is either neutral or complements that color. So as I build in my lighting, those are the 2 main considerations I have to keep in mind. How can I show off the smoke? And then what colors are going to make my subject pop? I'm actually going to begin in this case with my backlights, my rim lights. And the reason is because those are the most important. Whenever you're working with smoke or haze or anything that effect, you can see them most and they pop most when they are lit from behind. And so in this setup, I am using 2 rim lights with 1x4 foot strip softboxes, one to the left, one to the right. And on them, I am using grids. Grids are going to control the spill of light. Furthermore, both of these lights are using gels. I have a teal gel on both of these. What that's going to do is not only reinforce the color palette, but it's also going to give the smoke a little bit of color. So let's begin with those 2 lights. Even without introducing the smoke into the scene, you can see how those 2 lights are so flattering for my subject's bone structure. Beautiful highlights on the side of her face, her jawline, her cheekbones, and the clothing to separate her out from the background. All right, so I've got that key element first. Now I need to consider how I actually light my subject from the front. So let's talk about my main light. My main light is over to the right-hand side, and I am using a Westcott optical spot. The reason I have chosen this modifier is because I can control the light to create just little slices of light, just little pockets of light on the face. And so I am using the 150mm lens. This is one that you can choose from Westcott. And I have that just to create a little area on the center of her face. So let me turn on our main light. Perfect. So you can see that tight area of light on the subject's face. Now, if this were the only light that was illuminating the subject's face from the front, I could open up the shutters, the leaves of that optical spot, for a little bit more coverage. However, I am going to be adding a second light, which is the fill light you see on the left-hand side of the frame. This is a medium umbrella with diffusion. What this is going to do is fill in all the shadows on the face and add a color. We're going to reinforce our color harmony. This has a blue or a cyan gel on it. And what that's going to do, fill in the shadows blue and spill blue light onto the background. The background you're using here is a Savage Universal Fashion Gray. I use this all the time when I'm lighting with gels because it is a great choice for achieving really saturated colors. All right, so let's see what it looks like when I add my fill light. That will be light number 4. So now you can see that the only neutral light on her face is created by the main light, that little slice of light, and then everything else has that beautiful saturated blue. Now, of course, I could stop with this. I am using 4 lights, but my goal here is not to be economical with my lights. I'm not trying to shoot with only 1, 2, or 3. I'm trying to create something super impactful. So in this case, I think it might be interesting to introduce one more color onto the background. You can see the background already is blue because the fill light is spilling on the background, but there's a little bit of a teal in the image, not only in the rim lights, but also to some of the makeup. So I think it would be really pretty if there was a gradient of light, perhaps a blue or teal on the bottom that faded to the blue on the background. So we have our final strobe behind our subject, which is a light on a floor stand, and on it is a mixture of gels. We have both a green and a teal. That's going to make it a little bit more green on the bottom of the frame and fade upward. So let's turn on our 5th and final light. All right, so there you have it. Each light is contributing something else to the shot. And I 100% could shoot this as is without special effects. But if I'm honest, I've shot this a million times before. I love it, but I like to challenge myself. I like to get creative. I like to try new things. Plus, I like to create images that stand out that people haven't seen before, which is where the SmokeNINJA Pro is going to come into play. I'm going to be using this tool in 2 different ways. I'm going to be modifying this tool with 2 different nozzles. So the first one is the dry ice nozzle, and the second one is the bubble nozzle. So these are going to give me slightly different effects, but I'm mostly playing around with the dry ice because I love how that clings to the body. So I'm going to bring out an assistant to help me with this, and we're going to begin with the dry ice. All right, so we have added the dry ice nozzle, and this is such a cool effect. I can basically use it to leave that smoke on my skin, and look at how beautifully it just kind of emanates. I love this effect. So I'm gonna have my assistant help me out. We're going to begin there. That first round of images with the dry ice nozzle, the effect is so beautiful. And that's something I played around with quite a bit before. So now I want to try something I've never tried because it is brand new to the SmokeNINJA Pro. I'm going to be creating bubbles, but not just bubbles, but bubbles filled with smoke or dry ice. So there's a couple different nozzles that are created that you can use with this tool, but the important part here is it is a super intense bubble formula that this company sells, and you're just going to dip the tip into here. So let's just get it a little bit of that bubble formula, and then I am selected on the dry ice. It is amazing. Ready? It floats, it's amazing. Gorgeous. So I'm going to use this and we are going to place bubbles on my subject. The reason I want to do this is I could include the bubbles in the shot, but honestly, the way that the bubbles pop, it's really nice because it concentrates the smoke and then it pops and wraps around the face or the arms. We tested it just before this and I'm gonna have a lot of fun because I've never had a shot like this before. As I create these images, I'm going to be shooting with the Canon R5 Mark II and I'm going to try a couple different lenses. I'm gonna shoot with the RF 24-105 2.8 for my wider shot that includes all of the wardrobe. That's a go-to for me. And then I'm gonna probably try either the 70-200 for closer shots or maybe even a macro because I'm really curious to see what it looks like when the smoke wraps around the subject's face. I wanna get up close and personal, really capture those details. Can you see why this type of tool gets me so excited? It has so many capabilities and it is just cool. It just stands out. It's something that I haven't seen done over and over again. So I'm able to create images that capture your attention. And remember, yes, it can do haze. Yes, it can do fog. Yes, it can do liquid smoke, but it can also do smoke in bubbles. There's so many things to get you inspired. If you want to try this out at home, remember, these are portable, they're safe, and the SmokeNINJAs were designed specifically to be more affordable. If you want to see the gear that I use to make these beautiful images, be sure to check out the links and the description below, and I will see you guys next time.